throw a flotation device to the victim.
That's a great idea, because what you're doing is giving that person the opportunity to save themselves, and you're not increasing the amount of victims that are in the water.
Hopefully they can grab it, hang on to it, attach it to themselves, and you can tow them safely into shore.
If there are no flotation devices available, call 911. Because choosing A and C and getting involved prove disastrous.
Making a human chain to reach out and pull them in is just doomed to probably killing even more people. You're going to have slippery footing. That water's going to be hitting you with hundreds of pounds of lateral force. You're not going to just walk a line out there. It's going to be broken apart by that powerful water.
In the heat of the moment, Gary tries to be a hero.
So I go down and I'm trying to grab his hand. I'm just missing by inches.
It's obviously a very difficult situation. You've got a kid that's in the water, but it's going to be very dangerous for anyone else to enter that water, and you're only going to most likely become a victim yourself.
While I'm trying to grab him, sure enough, a wave comes and knocks me in the water and washes me into the cave with him.
Within minutes, it's apparent Gary's in trouble too.
There was no saving anybody. You had to fight for your life.
A third person jumps in, and now there are 3 people in peril.
I knew that the tide was coming in. I might die, because if I walked back times with this tide coming up, there might not be a place to come up.
Just as Gary accepts his grim fate,
Finally start to die down, and I swim out past the waves, and I punch out past them, because I knew from my experience of being in the ocean that that would be my best chance, and I make it.
Gary fights his way to shore. As for the teen,
He's right there! Right there!
his friend rolls in.
Hold his hand! Reach for him!
And the 2 men finally pull the unconscious teenager out. Gary and Rob work furiously to resuscitate him. Incredibly, the teen regains consciousness. The young man is airlifted out and makes full recovery. But this scary experience serves as a reminder to stay away from sea caves, especially at high tide.
Caves are extremely dangerous. It doesn't take big waves to trap you in a cave. I should not have been in that water with all my experience.
Sea caves are a danger zone. If you see someone in trouble, act fast. Call 911 and throw the victim a line, preferably a flotation device attached to a rope, and tow them to safety. Remember, rising tides and swells can quickly turn fun into chaos.
He's right there! He's in the rock!
In bounce houses, children are literally surrounded by soft, padded walls. And while there's always a chance for a minor collision with other kids, the bounce houses themselves are safe. Right?
Bounce houses are very susceptible to wind gusts. It just depends on the weight of the bounce house, who's in the bounce house, and the strength of the wind.
And it's more common than you realize. Here, wind in Littleton, Colorado left 2 girls injured. In upstate New York, a bounce house takes to the skies after dropping 2 boys 15 feet into a parking lot, severely injuring them. And in Orlando, gusts blow an inflatable structure across the University of Central Florida campus. Are you helpless when a bounce house takes flight? Lightning strikes your truck. Can you escape from the smoldering heat?
It was just excruciating.
And when there's a sudden shift in the wind, you only have a split second to react.
Today we're opening more than 150,000 locations called Domino's Hotspots. Like beaches, roadside attractions, and dark parks. You can finally have Domino's delivered to every single one of them. No address? No problem. Find the Domino's 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each.
Get the pizza you love delivered to a Domino's hotspot near you, or any of the other outdoor locations now open for Domino's delivery.
Even the most conscientious parents can be distracted. Here are some tips to protect kids in hot vehicles. Put your purse or backpack in the back seat to ensure you look back. Place a visual reminder in the front seat that you have a child in the car. Look before you lock. Make it a habit. If you see a child unattended and can't locate the driver, call 911. If the child is unresponsive, do whatever it takes to get them out safely, including breaking a window. Look before you lock.
Paying too much for insurance you don't even understand? Well, Esurance makes it simple and affordable. In fact, drivers who switched from Geico to Esurance saved an average of $412. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call. Paying too much for insurance that isn't the right fit? Well, Esurance makes finding the right coverage easy. In fact, drivers who switched from Geico to Esurance saved an average of $412. That's auto and home insurance for the modern
Now,
world.
while this ad
Esurance,
is
an
running,
Allstate company. Click or call.
not this ad, this commercial.
When you're
Make
raising
sure
a
you
child,
hit the subscribe button
be soft.
and the notification
When you're
to
doing
be
it alone,
on the
be
notification
strong.
squad.
Life takes softness
And
and
hit the
strength,
like
which is
button.
why we make Angel Soft with a balance of both.
Every time a customer walks through the door, we promise to take care of the car. There's no shortcuts in life. If you're gonna do something, do it right the first time. Firestone Complete Auto Care. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
How do you know you made the right call? You just do. The light beer you've been waiting for has arrived. Carbs, lower calories, higher expectations. Corona Premier.
Tomorrow morning on the Weather Channel, we'll be here bright and early on AMHQ Weekend. Then at 9, get your weekend recharge. Then at 1, Heroes and Survivors.
You've brought your children to an outdoor event, and they're enjoying the afternoon at Bounce House when... So before this happens, what should you do to keep your kids safe in an inflatable structure? Should you A. Stay in the bounce house with them at all times. B. Make sure the house is held down with heavy sandbags. Or C. Be aware of local weather conditions. What can make a bounce house dangerous anyway?
A bounce house is not all that heavy given its amount of surface area, and of course it's filled with air, so it probably wouldn't take a very strong wind to pick it right up.
It's May of 2015 in Fort Lauderdale, and a freak whirlwind whips up just off the beach. At first, onlookers don't take it seriously, but then... Three children inside are injured. One suffers a head injury and has to be hospitalized overnight. One study found the number of bounce house-related injuries between 1995 and 2010 was up 1,500%. Not every incident can be blamed on weather, but it is a factor in many cases. So, what can you do to keep your kids safe in an inflatable structure? If you answered C, be aware of the local weather conditions, you're right.
Your local forecast has the forecasted wind speeds for the day, but you want to look for times of changing weather. Is there a cold front coming through? Are there going to be thunderstorms in the area? It's those changes in the weather which usually kick up the wind.
An adult in a bounce house isn't likely to weigh enough to hold it down. So all a parent can do inside one is add to the potential for injuries. As for sandbags,
A bounce house can't be anchored by just a sandbag. You need something much more substantial to anchor it down. Something heavier than the bounce house.
and here's the proof. New Year's Eve, 2014. A dust devil spins to life at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Gary Knutson is just yards away.
It initially looked like just some wind, kind of blowing some debris and cups. You could see some kind of trash blowing. You really couldn't tell which way it was coming. It started to move to the right, and that's when a lot of the tents and the real light structures took to the air, umbrellas, and then it kind of changed direction and went more southwest and missed our tent, and that's when the bouncy house took to the air. The power of it was mind-blowing, with 30-40 pound sandbags just getting tossed around 40-50 feet in the air like they were nothing. And it made kind of a couple turns, but it stayed in the funnel and kind of worked its last orbit.
Fortunately, no one was inside, so there were no serious injuries. But people aren't always so lucky. So keep your children and yourself safe. Remember these survival tips. Check the forecast. Watch out for winds, especially when gusts are over 20 miles per hour. Adult supervision is a must. The adults themselves should stay out of the bounce house. And most importantly, make sure auger anchors or extremely heavy weights are properly attached to keep the inflatable from flying away.
I have my own motto for bounce houses. You know what it is? Anchor it down or it ain't around.
January 2014. Authorities issue a winter storm watch when a slow-moving Arctic front rolls over the mid-Atlantic. In Philadelphia, temperatures plummet, and officials declare a snow emergency. By morning, the entire city is covered in snow. That's bad news for Shirley Bonani. She's at home with her husband Fabian when she feels the first contractions.
I'm feeling totally in control. Everything's good. The bags are actually packed. I never pack anything in advance, but they're actually packed.
Even knowing that this record-breaking snowfall might slow them down, Shirley's not worried.
I decided I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to get ready to go since I'm only 10 minutes apart, and they don't really want us to come in until we're about 3 minutes apart.
Fabian loads up the car, which is parked about 300 feet away at the bottom of a hill. But when he goes back to retrieve his wife...
As soon as I walk in, I hear wailing. And all my confidence goes right out the window there.
Put yourself in Fabian's boots. What should you do if a woman goes into labor during severe weather? Should you A, get in the car and go to the hospital? B, call 911 and wait for EMTs to arrive? Or C, grab some towels and hot water. This baby is getting delivered at home. Fabian is hoping to avoid that last option.
Fabian came back inside and he is helping me walk down the steps. That's when my water broke.
Everything happened so fast, I didn't even call 911.
So what's his plan? He thought he had prepared for the worst. No blizzard's going to stop this baby. Do you know what to do?
This baby's coming right now. I'm pushing.
Where will you run when an earthquake hits and you're 55 stories up in the air?
Everyone was running helter-skelter all over the place.
And can you survive impact after impact in a colossal pileup?
This program brought to you by Bear Premium Stains and Finishes. Weather's any weather.
Bear presents 2 stains, 4 seasons. Ordinary stains say they can do the job, but Bear Premium Stain can weather any weather. Bear Premium Semi-Transparent Stain and Sealer. Overall #1 rated. weathers it all. Find our most advanced formula exclusively at the Home Depot.
Salads should look like this. Crisp leaves of lettuce, freshly made dressing, clean food that looks this good, delivered to your desk. Now delivered to home or office. Panera, food as it should be.
At this point in my life, I know what I like, which is why I use Consumer Cellular. I get unlimited talk and text for just $25 a month with no contract.
J.D. Power recognized Consumer Cellular for outstanding customer service 4 times in a row. Plus, Consumer Cellular is an approved AARP provider, so members get exclusive discounts.
Switching was easy. I've got everything I want for half what I used to pay, and that's the way I like it.
Get wireless the way you like it. Call, go online, or find us at Target.
Wow, that's an aggressive yellow.
Pretty great, huh?
If you're a banana.
I find it.
Passing on is just another milestone. We celebrate other milestones. Birthdays, getting married, having kids. When my time comes, I want a celebration. I think it'll help my family and friends feel better and move on. I want them to have happy thoughts about me and know that I'm in a better place.
Contact Clark Legacy Center to plan your end-of-life celebration.
The delicate skin on your neck can show age. Or not.
Gold Bond Neck and Chest Cream helps improve texture and increase elasticity. 97% had visibly firmer skin. Gold Bond Neck and Chest for visibly firmer skin.
Getting heartburn doesn't mean I take a break. It means I take Rolaids.
Rolaids goes to work instantly for fast, powerful relief of your worst heartburn. ROLAIDS spells relief. And for gripping relief, try Rolaids Soft Chews.
Of Nugenics. Samples are not available in stores, so text 369369 and enter KNOCK. It's January 2014, and Winter Storm Janus has covered Philadelphia in snow. Fabian Bonanni is at home with his pregnant wife, Shirley, when she begins to go into labor. He thought he had prepared for the worst. At the height of the storm, he had gone out, telling his wife he needed to get salt for the sidewalks.
My main mission was to buy a sled to get my wife from the house to the car in the event that she went into labor.
That time is now. He's got to get Shirley 300 feet from door to car, downhill, through about a foot of snow. No easy task for a woman on the verge of childbirth.
And I said, all right, once you get down the steps, you gotta sit in the sled and I'll pull you down to the car. And I was like, are you crazy? I'm not getting in that thing.
I'm desperate just to get her several blocks away to the local community ER, which doesn't even have a maternity ward or pediatric care, but it was just somebody who hopefully knows something about human anatomy and delivered a baby.
So what should you and Fabian be doing? A, get in the car and go to the hospital. B, call 911 and wait for EMTs to arrive. Or C, grab some towels and hot water. This baby is getting delivered at home. The right answer is B. Call 911 and wait for help from EMTs.
It's much safer if you would summon an ambulance. There are non-emergency numbers for ambulances, and you can certainly use those if you think everything is moving along normal. But normal is hard to judge.
As for Fabian's plan to drive,
they shouldn't drive themselves to the hospital if they're going into labor and the weather conditions outside are severe. Besides the responsibility that Dad has now for the mother and the soon-to-be newborn, now he's going to face road conditions and the potential of an accident and possibly even getting disabled on the way to the hospital.
Then there's delivering at home, Fabian's worst nightmare. He urgently tries convincing his wife to get in the sled.
2 or 3 times lately, calming her down, trying to get her in the sled. Finally, I get in the sled, a few expletives, picked her up, gently put her down.
And started running as fast as he could, pulling the sled to the car. And I felt every bump down the way while I'm having contractions, screaming the entire time, telling him to stop.
A sled would certainly not be the ideal method of transportation for a pregnant woman to go down a steep, icy hill. Designed to do.
Fortunately, the sled stays under control, which isn't something you can say about the rest of this pregnancy.
I told him this baby's coming right now. My body's pushing. I'm pushing right now.
Right now, as in outside of their home on the sled.
Shirley only had to push once, twice. She just came out gently right into my hands. I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my hand while Bella was in my arm, and with my other hand pulled it apart till it snapped.
Which leads to the question, true or false? In a situation like this, cutting the umbilical cord should be your first priority. The answer is false. Your first priority is keeping that baby warm.
Tearing of the umbilical cord can be life-threatening because the baby can rapidly lose blood through that cord.
It can also put mom at risk, but in this case, both Shirley and her new daughter Bella remain unharmed.
The best thing to do if you're caught in a situation like this, immediately put the baby onto the mother's stomach. Her own heat will warm the baby, and then you can use the mother's clothes to wrap the two of them together.
Cold temperatures can have a tremendous impact on exposed skin, and it can freeze very quickly in very cold and windy conditions.
All I can think about, oh, it's cold outside. Oh my God, we don't have a blanket, we don't have anything. And someone had ran into there and brought like comforters and blankets to wrap the baby in.
If you ever find yourself with a woman about to give birth during severe weather, call 911 for trained emergency medical professionals. Stay in your home, keep your newborn baby warm and wrapped up, and never tear a newborn's umbilical cord. The winter storm of 2014 forced the cancellation of over 1,500 flights, and the city of Philadelphia would ultimately declare a snow emergency. But despite all the chaos and some clear missteps on her first night, Bella is now a happy toddler.
She's pretty determined and focused to get what she sets out to get, and very persistent, which she was exactly that day. So.
Would you survive if your car filled with thick, choking smoke?
How are we getting out of this tube? That was going through my mind.
And test your reaction time in a base jump catastrophe.
Jardiance asked, and now you know. Jardiance is the only type 2 diabetes pill proven to both reduce the risk of cardiovascular death for adults who have type 2 diabetes and heart disease, and lower A1C with diet and exercise.
Jardiance can cause serious side effects, including dehydration. This may cause you to feel dizzy, faint, or lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Ketoacidosis is a serious side effect that may be fatal. Symptoms include nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, and trouble breathing. Stop taking Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of ketoacidosis or an allergic reaction. Symptoms of an allergic reaction include rash, swelling, and difficulty breathing or swallowing. Do not take Jardiance if you are on dialysis or have severe kidney problems. Other side effects are sudden kidney problems, genital yeast infections, increased bad cholesterol, and urinary tract infections, which may be serious. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you have any medical conditions.
Isn't it time to rethink your type 2 diabetes medication? Ask your doctor about Jardiance and get to the heart of what matters.
James Sachs, check.
More and more people are finding themselves in a Chevy for
And
the first
subscribe to
time.
him.
Now you can too.
Hit
During
the
the Chevy
notification
4th of
bell
July
for him
sales
too,
event.
okay?
Now through July 9th, get 10 to 20%
He's on
below MSRP on your favorite Chevy
100
models
less
with
than mine,
finance
so
with GM Financial.
but do
That's
that
over
for me,
$6,700 on
and
this
you'll
Chevy
help him
box.
out
This
almost
4th
to
of
get the
July,
play
discover why
button.
Chevy is the most rewarded and fastest growing brand in the last 4 years overall. Find roads at your local Chevy dealer.
A little less conversation, a little more action. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more bite, a little less bite, a little less fight, a little more spite. Take your mind over to your heart, a little satisfy me. Satisfy me, baby. Don't procrastinate, don't articulate, just get late. You just sit there a little less conversation, a little more action.
To be their best, kids need good nutrition and practice. Lots of practice. Get them started right with Carnation Breakfast Essentials. It has protein plus vitamins and minerals to help kids be their best. Carnation Breakfast Essentials.
I'm Jimmy Dean, and that sunrise something. I honestly feel that way about Jimmy Dean sausage. Get yourself a large chunk of that good morning feeling.
Oh, that smells good.
I'm a tin can tied to your bumper, because I don't think enough people heard about your big day. But nothing says we got married like a 12-ounce piece of scrap metal.
Yo, we got married. Honk if you like joint assets.
Now you're so busy soaking up all the attention.
You don't see the car in front of you.
And if I can crash your perfect day, imagine what I could do to the rest of them. So get Allstate. I'd be better protected from mayhem like me.
And now your tropical update.
Powerful, dramatic, and dangerous. The temperature of a lightning bolt is hotter than the surface of the sun.
Lightning is quite dangerous because it packs a lot of voltage. Lightning strikes in the U.S. about 25 million times a year. It can occur with ordinary thunderstorms as well as severe thunderstorms.
Often, as it's trying to make its path from cloud to ground, it's sending out little branches that we call step leaders. And at the same time, a little streamer may come up from the ground, and where they connect, the main energy of the lightning bolt happens.
You know lightning can hit stationary objects. But can this natural phenomenon strike a moving object? True or false? The answer?
Ah, that's true. Airplanes have been struck by lightning moving through the air. Cars have been struck by lightning moving on the ground. It doesn't matter whether you're stationary or moving.
Al and Betty Perry experience it firsthand. This animation recreates the moment they're in their truck and a bolt zaps their pickup when it's moving 65 miles per hour.
We did not know that it was lightning. All of a sudden, just boom. That was it. The noise was so loud, it was just excruciating. All the airbags went off in the vehicle, and the truck filled up with smoke so bad that I couldn't even see my wife. My first reaction was, how are we getting out of here? I can't open the windows. I can't open the door.
Imagine it's you. What do you do to get out alive? Should you, A, try to restart the engine, hoping to reset the electronics? B, kick out the side window to escape? Or C, try to break out the windshield? Before you answer, here's what you're up against.
Basically, cars are designed as kind of an integral system to keep the occupants safe and keep intrusions out. The downside of that is that when the occupants try to get out, it is a very solid system. It's pretty difficult to crack through.
So what's your move? Choose A? Trying to restart the electrical system probably won't work. Your vehicle's been struck by lightning. Odds are it's completely shot. Pick B? Good luck.
Side windows in a vehicle are some of the strongest glass in the car, surrounded by a steel frame, and it's small. So it's one of the most difficult windows to kick or hit out of a car.
C, put the odds in your favor of getting out fast.
Breaking out the windshield is your best bet in this situation. The windshield is glued on top of a metal frame, and all you have to do is break the seal of that glue to get the windshield to come free. The best way to do it is with both feet in a corner, preferably an upper corner, so you can get good leverage from the seat.
Al Perry mistakenly does the wrong thing. He tries to force the side window
I'm kicking lives. Because if this window doesn't break, how are we getting out of this tube? That was going through my mind.
The window doesn't budge. Luckily for the Perrys, within minutes, a Canadian law enforcement officer arrives and uses his baton to smash the window.
The second the window was broke, our lives were given to us. We were rescued.
True or false? Metal attracts lightning. What do you think? The answer? Yes and no.
Tall metal objects are prone to being hit by lightning, but I've seen lightning strike next to tall wooden poles that have lightning rods on them. So there's no absolutes here.
The reason the Perry's truck was hit? Wrong place, wrong time. It so happens there were distant thunderstorms on that day.
Paid no attention to it because it was quite a distance in front of us and the rest of the sky was quite clear.
You don't have to be right in the middle of heavy rain and very dark skies to get lightning. You can get lightning that comes down out of the very edges of clouds. If the vehicle happened to be in the path of where the lightning bolt was coming down, it will get hit, moving or stationary.
How often can you say that you've been hit by lightning and walked away from no injuries, no nothing? I've always believed that you don't go until it's your time to go, and it obviously wasn't my time to go.
Ever since that fateful day, Al now drives with one of these, a car hammer. It's designed to easily break a window in the event of an emergency.
Have a device that you can break a window from the inside and store it in the proper place.
If you are ever hit by lightning while in your car, here's your survival guide. If you can, pull off to the side. Get out of the car as quickly as possible, staying off the road. If the windows and doors aren't working, kick out the front windshield. Use both legs and push hard in a corner to break the seal. And lastly, it's a good idea to keep emergency safety tools within reach. Base jumping. It may look like skydiving, but there's one big difference.
The difference is just what you're jumping out of. A skydive, by definition, is jumping out of an aircraft, which would be an airplane or a helicopter or a hot air balloon. And a base jump has to be jumping off of a fixed object.
That fixed object could be a building, tower, bridge, or a cliff, like the sandstone monuments in Moab, Utah. It's got hundreds of jump locations, but its erratic high and low altitude winds make it tricky.
In Moab, they have a lot of these very vertical rock faces. The problem, of course, is that any little bit of wind can drive you right back into that rock face, which is not very far away to begin with, and so you've really got to be aware of what's going on with the wind.
Today, you are on a 200-foot bluff and take the plunge. Suddenly, you spin off course, heading for the cliff. How will you avoid a devastating impact? Do you A, use your parachute's equipment to steer away from the cliff face? B, lift your legs and push away from the rock with your feet? Or C, tuck into a ball and brace for impact? It's the split-second decision faced by jumper Thayer Healy. What's he up against?
As you move up in elevation, wind speeds change. They become very erratic in and near mountains and even on this cliff. It's possible not only to have this wind shear thrust him into this cliff, but also since it sets up a rotational vortices, it's possible for him to become entangled in his chute as that chute begins to turn round and round.
The parachute's lines run through risers, straps that attach the chute to the jumper and can be used to steer. Attached are toggles. A jumper uses these to fine-tune his descent. Whatever he uses, he better act fast.
He has literally less than a second to figure out what he's going to do to prepare to hit that wall.
Thayer's heading straight into the rock face. In the heat of the moment, what choice would you make? You have tools at your disposal. Use them. Choose A and steer away from that wall. But answer this, what equipment is going to save you? A, your toggles, or B, your risers?
Primary thing that you'd want to grab is the risers. You can actually make our parachutes fly backwards and away from the cliff. and then turn them around. Once I had clear airspace, I would let up on one side to turn away from the cliff face.
With only seconds to react, Thayer reaches instead for the fine-tuned toggles. Bad move.
If you hit a rock face like that in the wrong manner, you can seriously injure or kill yourself.
Dazed from the impact, Thayer drags across the sandstone rock, plummeting 150 feet. But the troublesome wind just might save his life.
So what's slowing him down is that the parachute is still inflated. That's slowing him down from hitting the ground at terminal velocity.
Thayer spends a night in the hospital, badly injured, but alive. It was a freak accident. Could he have prepared at all?
In that situation, I would have gone for the risers first, and in fact, I would have had my hands at the risers already. Most of our training is geared towards proactive flying rather than reactive. So as the parachute opens, my hands are already going to the rear risers.
This is a dangerous sport, but you can survive a jump gone wrong if you plan ahead. Be aware of weather conditions that could affect your jump. Know the proper use of all of your equipment. Expect the worst, so you'll be prepared the instant things go awry.
I always expect every single base jump to go wrong. When it does go wrong, I'm already in the mindset of fixing the problem rather than reacting to the problem.
What choice do you have when a whiteout leaves your car buried in a brutal pileup? And how do you hide from an earthquake when slabs of rock rain from the ceiling?
Parodontax, the toothpaste that helps prevent bleeding gums. If you spit blood when you brush or floss, you may have gum problems and could be on the journey to much worse.